Hi, my name is Beth, and you're listening to the Canna Fitness and Nutrition Podcast, where we are hanging out at the intersection of fitness, nutrition, and cannabis. Thank you so much for pressing play today. I really appreciate that you're here. It excites me that you're here, actually, because it means that you're interested in fitness and nutrition, being healthy, being fit, but also interested in cannabis. Because as I go through and talk to more people about this, I am finding out how many people are into both cannabis and fitness, but don't necessarily talk about it. And I hate that there's a stigma about cannabis, and I'm here to try to dispel that as much as possible. And if you're a person who loves cannabis, but you also love being healthy, I want you to know that you're among your people here. We are all about being healthy. Cannabis is healthy. It is a healthy tool, and there should be no shame in that. So I hope that you feel that way listening to this. And today I'm going to talk about a study. It's not even a new study. It's from 2016, but I think it's a really interesting study, and I wanted to share my take on it, my thoughts on it, to get you thinking about it. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on it too, because if this resonates with you and you have an opinion, I'd love to hear it. The study found that cannabis users have a lower BMI. Okay, so this is the deal. Back in 2016, there was a study that was addressing the relationship between cannabis use and body mass index. Body mass index. Now, body mass index is not the end-all be-all to determining our obesity level, right? It is simply a percentage of, or a relationship between your height and your weight, right? So it's not the most accurate picture of obesity in America. Unfortunately, they use it as a standard. It drives everybody crazy. Doctors will admit that it's not a great rule. However, because they need universal systems to be able to study things, they use BMI. So take that as it will, right? Take that as you know that it's not the end-all be-all measurement of obesity. But they found that what the interesting part is, cannabis users have a lower BMI compared to non-users. And I think this is such an interesting study. This research analyzed data from the National Health and Nutrition Examination Surveys, which focused on adult participation and adult cannabis use and their BMI, so the ratio of their weight and their height, right? Which is what doctors use to categorize you if you are overweight, obese, underweight, that kind of thing. It's just simply a ratio. But again, we need a consistent metric to be able to measure. So the study found that cannabis users actually have a lower BMI compared to non-users in this study, which is surprising and a little bit counterintuitive, because cannabis, again, one of the myths, which you may already know this, so I may not be telling you something new, but the myth about cannabis is it's associated with the munchies, right? And so the automatic assumption for most people would be that cannabis users are heavier and tend to weigh more than non-users, because the blind assumption is that all cannabis users get the munchies and don't work out. They just lay on the couch like a lazy stoner, and that they just gain weight because of that, right? That's the stereotype. That's the assumption. And that's what surprised the researchers when they found this. But so what I wanted to talk about is the reasons that this is true, and I think some of the myths that go along with that, like the complete myth that all stoners get the munchies and then we just eat and lay on the couch and are lazy, right? The truth is, yes, some types of THC, some terpenes do stimulate your appetite, right? And that can be helpful, right? That is medicine for people who struggle with appetite, who struggle with a loss of appetite due to an illness, or the chemotherapy treatments are famous for that, right? Where they're that reduces your appetite. So taking something to help stimulate your appetite can be super helpful, right? And I know that lots of people love the munchies too. A lot of people love They love that, just the fun of it, the munchiness from getting stoned. And that's great if that's your thing. But again, if you're listening to this, I'm excited because that means that you're wanting to be healthy, right? You might even be on a weight loss journey. And one of the things that held me back from using cannabis for a long time was because I was health conscious, weight conscious, and I too thought that the stoner myth was true. I thought that was fact. I thought that all people who use cannabis got the munchies and then therefore they'd be heavier. Not true. And this little bit of research shows that it's not true. It would be really great if there was some legalization and we were able to do more research, because I think we would get even more evidence of this. And here's why. Because first of all, again, only certain types of THC stimulate the munchies. So if you're conscious of that, and if you don't care for the munchies, or if you're weight conscious or trying to lose weight or on a health journey, then it's really important to look at the types of cannabis that you're using. And if you like THC, then to look at what's in what type of THC are you using? What terpenes are involved in your favorite flower? What is in your gummies, right? What are they using to make it? Because all cannabis is not the same, right? There is flower that's grown that is natural, of course, but each strain has a unique terpene profile, and some terpenes are known to stimulate the munchies, stimulate your appetite, and some are not. The one that always comes to mind for me is myrcene, right? And this can affect different people differently, so you may or may not have an appetite stimulation from myrcene, but it is commonly known as one that does stimulate appetite. So that would be one I would watch out for. Right? What we know too is that there's certain terpenes that don't have that effect, right? And that's really important to know. And I think that's where, if they were to do further research in this study, that's where that would end up. It would come down to the terpenes, right? Because not all terpenes affect everyone the same. And knowing that certain terpenes like humulene, right, actually suppresses your appetite, okay? It does not stimulate your appetite. It has to do with the interaction of the receptors, right? It has to do with the amount of interaction with your CB receptors and the cannabis, right? So each type is going to react slightly differently with your receptors and activate different parts of your body, right? Because there are CB receptors all over your body, right? And that's why cannabis is so wonderful, because it can go into all these places. But the different terpenes act slightly differently around the body and with the different receptors. Most notably, CBD. CBD does not act the same in the body as THC. Okay? So CBD, and they did not, in the study, they did not distinguish between, when they say cannabis, does not appear that they distinguished between THC and CBD. So this also might be part of it. But CBD, because it does not bind to the receptor that THC does not stimulate appetite. It actually cannot, because it does not bind to that receptor. So CBD actually suppresses your appetite. It reduces your appetite, and it cannot give you the munchies. So here's where this comes in, and here's where I think it's a fun fact, and this is what I love to tell people when I like to blow their minds at when I'm out and about at the dispensaries and at events. To reduce the munchies, if that's something you're not interested in, again, if you need it, that's great. If you don't want the munchies, and if you're not interested in gaining weight from using cannabis, if that's a concern of yours, CBD is your ally here. And this is what you can do, because CBD is not psychoactive, so you're not going to get a buzz, but you can add it. You can add it to things, right? So you can get a strain, if you're using flower, you can get a strain that has a higher percentage of CBD in it. Right? Yes, it's going to take a little research. Yes, you're going to have to quiz the bud tender, or go on Leafly and look up your strains, or do some research if you're a grower. whatever it takes. But I find that cannabis users are interested in this stuff. You know, a lot of the times when I'm especially in the dispensaries, people that come in and are buying flower, they're interested in the nuances of it. If that's not you, that's fine too, because what's cool is the gummies and the drinks and the topicals and the tinctures, all the other products they are putting on their label what's in it. And I'm seeing a lot of products that have CBD in it. And this is a beautiful thing. This is what you want. You want some CBD in your THC. You want to combine them. Combining them is what brings what's called the entourage effect, which I'll do a separate episode on that because that's a lot to explain. But basically, they highlight each other and they highlight the benefits and they work really well together. They also counterbalance each other in a way, and this is one important way. They counterbalance with the appetite stimulation. So while THC can stimulate appetite, CBD does not, and it balances it out. So if you get the munchies a lot, add some CBD, right? Put a little bit, whatever you're using, add a little bit of CBD flower in it, or look for a product that has a ratio with CBD and THC in it. Now, just so you know, if you're shopping around, note that CBG, CBC, and CBN also will not stimulate your appetite. Okay, I'm going to say that again. If you're shopping around and you're looking for a THC product with some balance in it to not stimulate the munchies, CBD, CBG as in go, CBC as in cat, and CBN as in nighttime, those also will not stimulate your appetite. Right? So going back to the study, the study did not differentiate between CBD and THC. So we have to assume that these cannabis users was a big mix of all types of things, right? But I think my guess is part of the reason that the BMI is lower is because the munchies are such a myth. It's not true that everybody gets the munchies. It's not true that all types of cannabis give you the munchies. It's actually very not true, right? It's only certain kinds. And I think, too, what I wanted to kind of talk about, too, is how many people like us, if you're listening, again, I'll put you in this category because I'm assuming you like to be healthy, are active, and it makes activity easier, right? I mean, I hear this so over and over again as I talk to people who love cannabis and fitness, that it actually makes your workout easier in so many ways, right? Like for some people, it gives them a little burst of energy to get going. For some people, it keeps you focused and clear-headed so you can get through it. For some people, it just makes it feel easier. And for some people, it makes it less painful. A lot of people have inflammation and pain that prevents them from moving well. So to have that pain reduction allows you to move better, right? So what do you like about it? How does it affect your fitness? I want to hear from you. I want to hear because I'm completely fascinated by this. I love it. Again, I was a closeted user for a while because I didn't think that it went together. And then when it legalized, I decided to learn more about it. And that's when I became certified as a cannabis educator. So I learned the science behind it. And I was like blown away to learn about the terpenes and how that affects each strain and how that affects each person differently. So it is entirely possible to be healthy, not gain weight, not have the munchies, and not have cannabis ruin your fitness. In fact, again, according to the study, cannabis users have a lower BMI because we are more active, because it does help with all these hurdles, right? And this may be you. Maybe you have chronic pain, and maybe the cannabis helps you forget about that shoulder pain, makes it go away so that you can get through a workout. Or if you have a lot of inflammation, maybe you have rheumatoid arthritis, and CBD or THC combo helps you manage that inflammation so that you can move more, right? That is incredible. It's even as simple as I say this a lot, but if you're not sleeping, you don't want to work out. Like, you just are exhausted. You don't have the energy for it. You're not up for it. Using cannabis to simply help you sleep, maybe you're just taking a gummy at night to help you go to sleep. That's helping you with your workout because now you've gotten a good night's sleep and you're refreshed and ready to get up and work out, right? So it goes together in so many ways, which is why I'm not shocked at all to see this study come out that cannabis users have a lower BMI, because it is a myth that cannabis users are all getting stoned, hanging out on the couch with the munchies. And I think, again, I thought that was going to happen to me if I used it, so I didn't. And I think a lot of times what happens is people who talk about the munchies or who get the munchies, sometimes that's all based in the myth, right? Like, I had somebody tell me they used it for the first time and they were with friends, and then the friends, they all got the munchies and they all ended up in the kitchen. And that could be that it actually happened and they were hungry, right? Or is it the myth? Is it the myth planted in their heads where they thought that was what was going to happen, so they just acted on it? Does that make sense? Right? Is it the myth that's perpetuating itself and creating more myth, right? We need more studies like this that show that it doesn't. Not all types of cannabis cause the munchies. Not all types of cannabis make us overweight. In fact, we tend to eat less. Sometimes, and you've probably heard me talk about this before too, but it makes you more present and focused on what you are eating. So you're not just mindlessly eating, you're mindfully eating. So you may not eat as much. And that, if you listen to my conversation with Ryan, he talks about that a lot in his weight loss journey. And that's a lot of what I help clients with, is being more present while you're eating so that you're not overeating. Even if you do have the munchies, it doesn't mean that you are overeating or binging by any means. It means that you simply have an appetite to eat something. If you're still mindful, then you can eat a normal size serving, right? That would be ideal for someone if they're struggling with appetite, and you're struggling with appetite, so you need something to give you a little bit of appetite, but you're still mindful and present, so you're able to just eat as much as you need and then put it away and move on with your day. Right? So those are kind of my thoughts about this whole study. I think it's an interesting thing that came out. It actually came out in 2016, so it's not new. It was published in the journal Obesity in 2016. And again, it was counterintuitive to the researchers, but when you really look and dig down at the science, it's not at all counterintuitive. It makes perfect sense. And I think, you and I that are into fitness and health too, we know this, and I want you to know this, and I want you to make sure that you understand this, because I don't want you to get turned away thinking that maybe the munchies are just going to sneak up on you sometime and get you and bite you in the butt, right? It's not going to happen. Not if you're choosing the right strain, not if you're adding CBD, not if you're being mindful. So that is all for today. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. If you're experience the munchies, if you don't experience the munchies, how you get around it, how you prevent it, if it's never impacted you, I would love to know. I would love to know more about your fitness routine as well, and how cannabis helps you with your fitness and your health. Is it helping you sleep? Is it helping you get motivated? Is it helping you stay clear and focused? What is that for you? Because I know I share a lot about how it helps me, and I want to hear about how it helps you. So maybe we can help other people too. The more we can get this true information out here and the facts out here, the more we can help other people find cannabis as a tool to being healthy, and they can understand how it all works together for our overall wellness, fitness, and health. And that is my hope for everyone. So thank you so much for listening. If you want to chat, please feel free to reach out. You can email me it's beth@cannafitnessnutrition.com. And I hang out a lot on Instagram on Instagram, I'm Beth_Canna Fitness Nutrition. So write to me. Let's chat if you have any questions. I also would love topic suggestions if there's something you want me to talk about, either research-wise, fact-wise, or just experience-wise. Let me know, and have a great week, and I'll talk to you next time.